Evet, ikinci dersimiz birazdan başlıyor. Ben bu arada herkes gelene kadar kısaca birkaç duyuru yapayım. Çok kısa. 5 hafta biliyorsunuz Diplomat Okulu. 5 hafta biter bitmez Siyaset Okulu'nun kayıtları açılıyor. Siyaset Okulu'nun tarihini bugün netleştirdik. 9'unda başlıyor arkadaşlar. 9 Ocak'ta Cumartesi günü başlıyor. 20 hafta sürecek Siyaset Okulu. 9 Ocak'ta başlayacak ve 20 hafta sürecek. Dolayısıyla kayıtlar şu an değil, Diplomat Okulu'nun bittiği gün itibariyle açılacak. Şimdiden de sizlere bilgisini verelim ve çok değerli Mr. Ambassador, welcome. Mr. Consul General, I'm sorry.
Merhaba, merhaba.
Merhaba. Nasılsınız?
İyiyim, çok iyiyim. Siz?
Çok teşekkürler. Türkçe mi gidelim, İngilizce mi gidelim?
İngilizce.
Tamam. Bir şansımı deneyeyim dedim.
Okay, teşekkürler.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Once again. Now, we have, as you know, around 40 minutes. A great friend like yourself is here with us today. Now, we are talking about close to 500 students watching live who are from various universities in Turkey. Not only Bahçeşehir alone, but all different universities from all over the country. And most of them would like to be in diplomacy, right? So what happens is they would like to learn a lot of things about definitely the geopolitics, the political issues, the policy issues, and definitely the system in the diplomacy. But before everything, Mr. Consul General, I would like to tell you, if it's okay for you, I shaped up today's talk in several different parts. One of them, when we find you one of the founders of definitely European Union, I would like to talk a little bit about EU, founder countries. Two, directly Netherlands and Turkey relationship. I would like to talk a little bit about that. And the third one, definitely the pandemic issue, how you are handling the situation, and if we have time, your personal experiences. But let's kick off with European Union.
Perfect.
Now, European Union, especially when we are talking about your country, it is one of the main founding stones of European Union. There's a lot of ambassadors or consul generals, diplomats. They have been discussing in this program that European Union is going through some turbulent times. And these turbulent times can be evolved in a better way. But if the necessary measures are lack to be taken, it's gonna take European Union in a worse way. So first, can you give us a little bit definition of the current status of EU, the possible outcomes of EU in the near future? Thank you.
Wow, yeah, we can talk for hours about it, but I will do that kind of briefly on a Dutch way, always a bit blunt and sometimes a bit too direct. And I will also I will mingle in the official statements, but also some personal observations, if that's okay for you. And yes, as you correctly said, we were with the 6 founding fathers of the European Union. Now we are with 27. I still have to digest the fact that we are not with 28 anymore, because for us, seeing Britain leaving, and also in such a harsh way, is really difficult, because we are neighbors and we are often at the same page. And it's really a tragedy. So you cannot see the present situation of the EU and the near future without looking at Brexit and how we still have to resolve the main questions of Brexit. Perhaps we can come back to that later on in a moment. And yes, there's a certain crisis in the European Union, focusing a lot, well, next to the Brexit issue, on the issue with Poland and Hungary at the moment. Really, I would say also for our country, from our perspective, a really fundamental issue, because we are not only a a union of economic values, but also of other values, and including the core of the democracy, the freedom of speech, the diversity, and as you know, we have issues with both Poland and Hungary, and it tackled down now to an issue about the budget as well. So that is also a fundamental one. But the good news here is that Europe and also the European Union is built on crises. The fact that we exist as the European Union is very much related also with the post-war conditions, of course. Never war again. For young people, that is a faraway statement, but I think it's still important for elderly people like me. But also the Maastricht Treaty and the Economic and Monetary Union. I had the opportunity to be involved in the preparation of the Maastricht Treaty. And it was also very much a momentum. I wouldn't say it was a crisis, but it was a momentum of the wall falling down, and we had to look at a different way of German as a strong, very strong power as well. And you see that the European Union has the ability to make steps forwards out of crises. Look at the migration crisis and the euro crisis with Greece in the middle of it. So I'm always optimistic that we will come out of it, but there are some serious things also to be settled, that we have to have a more fundamental look, and now also my personal opinion pops in a bit on the future of Europe. Being, as you look at the European framework, I would say now, you see a diversity, a lot of variation in connections, and you have to, let's say, you have the real members of the European Union, the 27 at the moment, but you look at a country like Switzerland or Norway, they are so much linked in with the European system that they are, I would say, quasi-members. They're part of the European market, they are in Schengen. And if you look at this different frameworks, the Schengen framework, the Eurozone framework, the European Union membership framework, but there are also a lot of diversities in it. You see a European Union with a lot of variations and diversity. It's the strength, but also the weakness. So I think we have to find better solutions for that. Look at Britain. We have to make a good customs union, hopefully in a sort of soft Brexit variant into an internal market system, but also the relations with Turkey. Turkey is part of Europe, belongs to Europe. For us, Turkey is important to be in the European framework. You know that we as a country officially still support the candidacy membership of of Turkey for the European Union, but probably the next steps will be creating a better customs union framework. So the future, in my opinion, I don't know what you think about it, will be a Europe with more diversity, a variation of memberships perhaps. It's complicated, but I think it's the only way forward. We need each other, but at the same time, there are differences.
Let's come to the Holland-Turkey relationship.
Yeah.
Besides the European Union, with European Union, I always like to put these, dialogues into two perspectives. One of them is direct relationship. In the best capacity, it can be done. The second thing is obviously under the EU jurisdiction or EU regulations. How would you differ them, and how would you explain the Turkey-Holland relationship?
I think you're quite right there. There's these two elements. Today, you cannot see the Dutch-Turkish relationship without looking at the European Union. But there is also this bilateral relation, which is own identity, its own strength, and its own issues. So, and actually, it's a long-lasting friendship. you know, you are here. I'm here live from Istiklal, from the Palais d'Hollande. It's the oldest diplomatic representation that we have in the world. Actually, I don't know. I would love to give you this booklet about the story of 408 years of this building. So I will send it to you. But also, if one of the students is interested in it, please send me a mail and we will do a lottery and have a booklet in it. It's a story of 408 years of bilateral friendship, and actually it's old. It's the oldest diplomatic relation that we have in the world. We were still in our fight for independence as a country. So Istiklal is also a very right spot to be for us, looking at the name of the Jadisse. And we sought alliance with the Ottoman Empire, which was a very successful one, actually, fighting in that time the Spanish Empire. And remember, I'd love to make this statement all over again. At that time, the Dutch freedom fighters were waving the Turkish flags. And we were wearing also the half moon and the star on our ships. So it was really a strong relationship, and the relationship is still very strong. And there are, I will mention, let's mention three elements of importance. First of all, is the economic relationship. I think we are the first investor here in the country. We Dutch firms based in the Netherlands or co-located in the Netherlands. So it's not only ING and Philips and Shell, Royal Dutch Shell, but also a lot of medium-sized players. Reka Secorta, what's a big one actually. But also companies like Tesla, based in the Netherlands with their European headquarters, and Assemblage. And if you drink a Starbucks coffee, it's coffee from Amsterdam actually. Well, it's not from Amsterdam; it's from other countries, but roasted in Amsterdam. And so there is this very strong investment relations. We are the #1 destination for Turkish investments abroad. Think about Renaissance and a lot of the holdings doing activities from the Netherlands and in the Netherlands. And we also top 10 trading partner. So there's very strong economic relations. We can elaborate a bit on that because to make the next steps here, customs union is of course of tremendous importance as well. But there are also these cultural ties, the old cultural ties. I don't know if you know this little booklet. If you are in the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam, the National Museum, you will find a room with all the Vermeer paintings in it, like the visit of the Dutch ambassador to the Sultan, and actually the first painting that you will see entering the room is a view from the terrace here on the Bosporus. Well, actually, the view is not that beautiful anymore because the French school is now in between us and the view. But so it's a very old cultural relation, but it is also vivid today. Also thanks to almost 450,000 people in the Netherlands with a Turkish background or a partly Turkish background. That's a very important strength that we have. I don't know if you like and love as much as me the Amsterdam singer Karsu, who sings beautiful Turkish and English songs. But she's a representative of the new cultural links between the countries, and our cultural program, making connections through arts and culture, is very much focusing also on new relations, not only, let's say, with the traditional easygoing, would almost say secular kind of cultural relations, but also on better links with what we tend to call also the social conservative groups in Turkey. And most of the Turks in the Netherlands, the Dutch Turks, the first generation, are from that background, coming from places like Konya and Kayseri and the Black Sea area. So that is a very important element I would say, in our bilateral strengths, but also it has also its flip side, of course. If something happens here in Turkey, it's direct out of industries in Rotterdam and Amsterdam and Deventer and other places. So Turkey, for us, is not only foreign policy, it's also domestic policy in a way. So there are a lot of Turkish. It's not only the Turkish government who has a role in the Turkish society in the Netherlands via DNet and other structures, but also, let's face it, also Gülen, the militant Kurdish movement, and all the Grey Wolves, and all of them, they have their links with groups in the Netherlands. So it's also from that perspective, there is a close connection, and there is a lot of interest in our country about what's happening in Turkey. So you cannot see the bilateral relations apart from this economic strength, this cultural strength, but also the fact that we have this strong social and very diverse social connection with the Dutch Turks and also the Turks in the Netherlands becoming more and more diverse. The second generation, third generation, very well educated. We had more than half of our staff here at the consulate is with a Dutch Turk background. And but you see also an increasing number of Turkish expats in the Netherlands, also linked with the Turkish investments and the Dutch investments here. A lot of knowledge workers, as we say, and in places like Technical University Eindhoven and around, so in the world of IT. So there's a lot of there's a big bridge there. I won't call it a brain drain, but hopefully it will be reversed as well. And last but not least, there are more than 2,000 Turkish students now in the Netherlands, both bachelor students, master students, and also an increasing number of PhD students. So this is also very important. It's important for our bilateral relations to reach the next level, and we are very happy with them. And I would say to all the 500 plus students around today, you're very welcome to be in the Netherlands, be it for an Erasmus year, be it for your masters or afterwards a PhD. And our national office here, we are very much willing to help you, because it's also fun to study in the Netherlands. If you allow me to do this pitch for 1 minute, it's fun to study in the Netherlands. I myself studied in Amsterdam, but also other places. Tilburg, there are a lot of Turkish students studying in Tilburg, Nijmegen, and other smaller cities. You are not only in the heart of Europe, but you are also very much international connected when you are in the Netherlands, given the fact that there's so many international operators in the Netherlands, international headquarters. So it's a good investment also in your further career. Thank you for allowing me to having this pitch. But again, it's not so much that we like the numbers of Turkish students coming in, but it's really an investment in our bilateral relations. We call it talent acquisition today, like the investment acquisition, talent acquisition is becoming more and more important. Not as a one-way street, but as a two-way street, as more and more people from the Netherlands are becoming active here in Turkey as well.
Mr. Consul General, now we still have like around 20-something minutes. But before I go to the Consul General duties, before I come to some other technical questions, I want to ask two political questions. Because there's a lot of students that are asking this. The terrorist organizations who hurt Turkey a lot, Gülen terrorist organization and the PKK terrorist organization. A lot of my students are asking these questions on different, both YouTube and via Instagram. They're wondering how these two terror organizations who had a bad effect on Turkey's international relations. One of their targets is to defeat Turkey and the other countries' mutual good relationships with the contacts, with the links they have in the other countries. How do you think it is affecting Turkey-Netherlands relationships? That's the first question. And the second question, again, a lot of my students are asking this right now, Islamophobia. Now, when you look at the latest decisions the French government and especially the French administrators lately took about shutting down a couple mosques in France, this start making the Muslim world a little bit annoyed because of these decisions and felt away from Europe, felt how to say the right word, not welcome anymore. When I'm looking at the European perspective, with the definition, with the foundation stones, it's about democracy. It is about getting together, building something bigger and better. But lately, I'm not specifically mentioning any country, but you start seeing the Islamophobia effect over there. So this is a political and a policy question. One, the terror organizations, and the second one is this one. What do you do question, but still we have time for this, so let's move with the political ones if it's okay.
Okay, which one to start with? Up to you.
With the terrorists.
With the terrorists. Well, let me be clear here, also an official statement here. You know that we in Europe we see it as a terrorist organization, and but at the same time, and I mentioned before, you will see that this organization or affiliates of PKK have influence in the Netherlands. You will see from time to time demonstrations of mainly Kurds, and that's often not very well understood in Turkey here, and I can understand it. It's to do with the fact that we say, okay, you have freedom of you can even see people waving, very happy with it, the ISIS flags in the Netherlands from time to time. Of expression, you can have all kinds of different opinions with it. I don't like it at all to see that flags out from time to time in the Netherlands. But nevertheless, we consider PKK, and we are really along with Turkey here on seeing PKK as a terrorist organization. With France, and there's also a bit still this romantic idea about PKK and their actions. So in society, I would say in parts of society, there are different opinions about it. The Gulen is a different story. We don't see Gulen as a terrorist organization. But I think, and let me make it personal, in our country and many about the strength of this network organization, like let's call it like that, and the influence that it has in many countries still, including the Netherlands. I mentioned also others. We call the wolves linked very much with well, there is also a bad track record there. I don't want to say that it's a terrorist organization. Don't get it, we have to deal with this different kind of organization. But Gulen, I think it goes for the Netherlands and goes for also our neighboring countries. We still have to. We have to. I would wish that we could have a better dialogue dialogue also with Turkey on this issue, because there are Gulenists in our country who are seeking asylum and got asylum because of the fact that, given the international rules and standards, we say, well, yeah, if you apply for it and rule of law in Turkey is not guaranteed, else then it doesn't mean that we are happy with it, but understood. So there is and that is a challenge for us as diplomats, also for my Turkish colleagues in the Netherlands. There are still big gaps in perception between our countries on this kind of issues. I meet people in the Netherlands who, when I'm back, and they tell me, well, be honest, don't you think that Mr. Erdogan organized the coup attempt himself? And I'm always what my reaction is there. But there is a lot of misunderstanding on both sides, and it's difficult. It's difficult in
Mr. Consul General, the last way is most likely about the internet. Arkadaşlar bir bende değil mi? Sizde de Sayın Başkonsolos kesin. I think it's better right now. Yeah. Can you?
Okay. What I was saying, that there is still a big gap between our countries, not so much between the governments of the countries, but let's say the people in the street about the perceptions in Turkey about the Netherlands, but even more the perceptions and wrong perceptions also partly in the Netherlands about Turkey, partly fueled by all kinds of networks and organizations. So it's a big challenge, I would say, for us diplomats to bridge that gap, also for my Turkish colleagues in the Netherlands. And I would wish that we could have better talks about issues like how to deal with Gulen, for example, in our countries. That was the statement that I was making on your first question about these organizations. Is that okay?
Yeah. Now let's come to the main important thing. I think you are one of the right person to ask this question, because when you consider the population, I think Turkey and Holland relationship trade-wise is one of the highest, especially when you consider the population. It's pretty much at the top, right?
Yeah.
Now, a lot of my students here are seeking a career in diplomacy, as I just mentioned. But still, a lot of people are not so aware about the main differences and the job descriptions of ambassador, consul general, what consul general does, what are the main differences of consul general from the ambassador. For instance, you are the consul general of Netherlands in Istanbul. How many consul generals can be? How many of them gonna be around? What is an honorary consul general, etc. So pretty much, if you can give us a little bit definition, I will be happy. Yine dondu galiba.
Okay, that's a clear question. For us, the diplomatic network is of great importance, and like Turkey, we have a big diplomatic network to serve also our interests abroad, economically, cultural, politically, also what we call consular activities. And if you look what we are doing here in the consulate for over 400 years, I would say, is it's not always the first thing that you think about, but consular activities are also important. So that means that we do a lot of visa and other services support of Dutch in troubles here in the country. For example, last Monday we had a lady with a little boy knocking on our door. She was on her way back from Syria to the Netherlands. She was in the Caliphate as a foreign terrorist fighter for a few years. I don't know if she really took part in the fight, but that's also part of our job. So let's say the consular activities and everything related with it. But an important chunk is the economic diplomacy here in our. So we have about 15 people working on consular activities. We have 12 people working on economic relations, trade, investment relations, innovations. So that is of importance. We have people working on the cultural relations, and we have also this program for cooperation on societal transition and human rights kind of activities. We have 2 police officers here who are in close contact with the Turkish police in all kind of issues related to international crime and drug trafficking and so on. So it's really a wide range of activities. We have consul generals and consulate generals in a number of countries, big countries of importance for us, in where we tend to think that it's difficult to cover the whole country from the capital. So that's the case here. We obviously our embassy is in Ankara. It moved in 1945, so we're one of the latest to move from Istanbul to Ankara. I think the Dutch government at the time was saying, "Well, they will be back in Istanbul soon." Well, that was not the right decision. So we were late in Ankara. So we are in one strong network with our embassy. Actually, one team, you could say. Our innovation officers are working for the whole of Turkey. Our investment officers are working for the whole. For our education office. For example, I was posted before as a consul general in the West, covering the 13 westernmost states, first from LA and later on San Francisco. Also the same reason, that it's difficult from Washington to cover the whole of the US for the Netherlands, and being it such an important at the moment. In China, we have a few. We have one in Burak, next to the embassy in Moscow, and we have a consul general in Munich, in Germany. And so I think there are around 20 all over the globe, next to a number of 80 embassies and ambassadors. And roughly, we do the same kind of business, with one difference, that the relations with the first relations with the central government are done from the embassy. That doesn't mean that I'm not meeting ministers, Turkish ministers, from time to time when they're here in Istanbul. But the primary political, as we say, political relations are done by our ambassador and our political team in Ankara. So we have also honorary consuls, also in Turkey. I think we have 4 one in Gaziantep, in Izmir, in Antalya, and I've forgotten the other one. That's a bit sad now. But so what they do is they are not official diplomats. They are honorary, so they have their own job, their own business, but we ask them to be our representative if needed in specific cases, and they are also part of our network. From time to time, we do also have Netherlands Business Support Office around in countries. We had one in Izmir, for example. So the diplomatic network is a whole conglomerate of different players, but always one team in our case. So we have people from the ministry, so diplomats like me, for example, from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but we also have attachés, as you call it, from other ministries, like from the Ministry of Culture, Ministry of Defense, the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Economic Affairs, the Ministry of Social Affairs, but that's only in more important countries like Turkey. If you would have a look, for example, so it differs also from country to country. Is that specific enough, or do you want to ask some additional things?
Just a quick question. I'm going to focus on this in the upcoming days about the honorary consulates with other ambassadors, with other countries, but just a little definition. For example, can I be honorary consul of Netherlands in Bursa? I'm a man of Bursa, right? A Turkish man. I have no Dutch citizenship. Can I be, as a businessman or as an academician or as anyone, a full Turkish citizen, can be an honorary consul in any city, and what are the requirements? This is a very important thing, and what that person's differences from you.
Well, yes, you can, in principle, but here different countries will have a different policy, I would say. But generally speaking, you will find a lot of heroes in Turkey, Turkish nationals who are honorary consuls for different countries. But the main difference is that I am a civil servant, and I'm 100% of my time. I'm Consul General 24/7, and I'm on the payroll of the ministry, and I have diplomatic status as well. The honorary consuls don't have a diplomatic status. They get a small allowance for costs, but they're not on the payroll, and so it's a part-time job. It's an honorary job, I would say. Then your question again: is it possible for you to become honorary consul for the Netherlands in Bursa? Yes, in principle it is. If we think that it's wise to have a honorary consul in Bursa. So here the question pops up: is it doable to cover Bursa easily from Istanbul or not? As I said before, I was a consul general in the west of the U.S., and with our office in San Francisco, it was very difficult to cover the 13 westernmost states of the U.S. because it was a territory, I think, 160 times the Netherlands, a huge territory. So there it was very helpful and necessary to have a honorary consul. So I had a honorary consul in Hawaii and in Salt Lake City and in Seattle and in Denver and in Portland and in LA and in San Diego. So so it's that was a big network. I'm even forgetting one or two. But there, my personal pick was it's better to have somebody with strong links with the Netherlands and with a specific background that can be helpful for the relations that you want to establish with that specific city or region. For example, in San Diego, our focus was a lot on cooperation on life science. A honorary consul who has strong ties in this network. In LA, we picked one, was a Dutchman living there for already 30 years as an architect. Because we said well, creative industries are much of importance there. But in other places, where it was more focused on cultural and legal kind of issues, we said, well, it's better to have a local lawyer, for example. So it's up to the choice of the ambassador and the consul generals. But you will find a very. We had a meeting of our. Before COVID, obviously, of all our honorary consuls back. They came to the Netherlands. I think it was something like 250 totally, globally, even more, almost 400, I think. They were meeting with the king and the queen and having talks with a very, very diverse group of people. I think they are very important, but only when they are really linked in the network. So you have also to invest in it a lot. I had frequent meetings with my honorary consuls to make a team out of it as well. Well, I speak in the past here because here in Istanbul, all the honorary consuls that we have in Turkey, they are more linked to the embassy in Ankara because they are out of my resort.
Last question, Mr. Consul General. There's a lot of students are asking this when we are talking about Holland. Now, the question is Holland, Netherlands, Dutch.
Yeah.
Because when I first learned this years ago, when I was studying political science, I researched a little bit about that. What Holland means about the trees, what Netherlands means about the low lands, and definitely what Dutch is, which goes back to Holy Roman Empire about Fleming meaning. But they're asking this question to you. Can you just explain them? Holland, Netherlands, Dutch. What are the differences between these ones? Why do you call? They're asking this question.
I have to take care about Kaplan, who is.
Don't worry.
So sorry about that.
He's our guest.
It's my dear assistant of today. So the Holland is more the old kind of name of the trading nation that we were. I went back 408 years with you when we were fighting for our independence and we were seeking the alliance with the Ottoman Empire. At that time, we were a union of 7 provinces in the Netherlands, and the province of Holland was the biggest one and the strongest one because all the trading was done from Holland. Cities like Amsterdam and Rotterdam and also The Hague nowadays and Leiden, there's all parts of Holland. But you had also other provinces like the province of Zeeland, where New Zealand came out of it actually, and Utrecht and Gelderland and so the 7 provinces. So. But as in the world, the country and the Dutch were known as from Holland. The name Holland became sort of synonym for the country, official name of the name of the country, the Netherlands. And the Netherlands actually was before it's a complicated story, but as students are listening in, they will understand. The Netherlands was in the beginning was a group of provinces which are more than the present Kingdom of the Netherlands, included Belgium and Luxembourg, where my wife is from actually. But after the separation between Belgium and the Netherlands, the name, the Kingdom of the Netherlands, was actually became the official name for the country as we have now, of the 12 provinces of the Netherlands. But still, in a lot of countries and a lot of languages, the name Holland is much more known. That's also why we use this logo still. In for example, if in the US, when I was saying I'm from the Netherlands, they look very weird and say, "Oh, does that include Denmark?" Don't tell it to my Danish colleagues, and that in a few moments. Does that include Denmark? And what languages do you speak? So they know Holland. And here in Turkey, it's even more complicated because there is no official name for the Netherlands. So you only have Hollanda. Yeah, Holland. So there's no. You don't even have a name for the Netherlands in your language, and it makes it also extra complicated that the language that we speak is Dutch, and some people think that is the same as Deutsch, but it is a relation with Dutch and German. But we will call it in our language Nederlands, but in English it's called Dutch, also related with the old name of the language Dietz. But here in Turkey, you say that we speak Flemish because of the fact that in former days many of the Dutch-speaking people here in the Ottoman Empire and in Istanbul were also from the Flemish part of the Netherlands, including the great painter of Vermeer. He was actually from the Flemish-speaking part of what's now in French. Also in France, part of the population in the north spoke Flemish or Dutch. So very complicated. But to give a short resume, the official name of the country is the Netherlands. In a lot of countries, and a lot of people will call it Holland. It's officially not correct. Some people in the Netherlands from other provinces don't like it as well, but it's still yeah. And the language is in English called Dutch, but here in Turkey it's called Flemish.
Excellent, Mr. Consul General. Thank you so much to be with us here today. Definitely, we're gonna be talking a lot in the upcoming days about different programs, different issues. But thank you so much to be one of our instructors today in our School of Diplomacy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and let me say again that your students are very much welcome to knock on our door for the information about studying in the Netherlands. Thank you so much for having me.